Cut that shit, Sasha. Cut that. We got a lot to get to. Cut it. Cut my music. What's up, Amplified Unit? From the jump, let me just state, I'm not trying to relive the 80s. Although I would love to. Best era in the world. Best time frame for BC anyway. 80s and 90s, nobody is going to convince me anything else. I'd love to relive the 80s. But this gear is one of my favorite TV shows returning tonight on Netflix at 12 a.m. Or is that midnight? Let's just say midnight. Midnight tonight, we're hitting Duncan's Toy Chest. Home Alone 2. Stranger Things Season 4 is back on Netflix tonight, man. I love that show. And so I'm just showing some love. You guys might see if there's any Stranger Things fans out there. This hat will be making a big debut. I think it's in episode 1 even, right? One of their big characters, Dustin, he's going to have his thinking cap on. So be on the lookout for this hat. And speaking of, guys, there's no AEW Dynamite review, at least not of right now. Oh yeah, my coffee is done. I'll get to that in a second. The big reason there's no review is because last night I was at a big premiere event and after party for Netflix's Stranger Things. So I was invited out to that, had a blast, ended up missing Dynamite, but I will be catching it at some point today, don't worry. And hopefully the next time I talk to you guys, I'll be discussing my thoughts on Dynamite. And by then, we'll even talk the rating that comes out, which will be later today. We'll talk all of that. But I wanted to do a Dynamite review. But Netflix's Stranger Things, man. I got a chance to see a lot of cool shit last night. So big thanks to Netflix for inviting me out. And a good time in New York City last night. But I will be talking about Dynamite in the near future. But first, to celebrate Stranger Things tonight, I'm trying a new coffee, man. This is Tim Hortons Canadian coffee, a big shop up in Canada. So for my Canadian subscribers and viewers, you guys are familiar with Tim Hortons. This is my first pod that I've had from Tim Hortons, so that's what just got brewed. I'm going to have the first sip live on air with you guys, and we're going to discuss some more Sasha Banks and Naomi fallout, as if you guys have not heard enough from enough people in the community who are making 4, 5, 6 videos in the last week. BC's only been able to talk about this in 2 separate videos because I went away for last week, the whole week, on business. A lot of traveling, a lot of business, so I was only able to talk about this the day after it happened, on that Raw review. Then I went away for a week, and then this past Raw review, I was able to talk about it in another cold open. So as details keep emerging and people keep opening their mouth within that company, the latest from Jimmy Smith and Corey Graves, BC obviously has to discuss this. This is a pro Sasha Banks channel, and damn it, we're going to talk all things Sasha Banks better than anybody in the community. This has always been a pro Sasha channel, so when anything big happens or little, we are going to discuss it. This happens to be huge. So when people in that company start talking, we have to talk about it. And I think that Jimmy Smith and Corey Graves are missing why people are upset with their role in all of this, right? Because everybody is kind of, oh, they're doing their job. But it's bigger than that. That's not why people are upset. There's a bigger issue, and Professor BC is here to talk about it. So we'll get to all that in a second. Let me try some of this Tim Hortons to get me in the fucking mood to be rocking out and getting amplified again. Put my creamers in first. You guys don't have to see the whole process. We'll go to a commercial right now. We'll go to an ad. YouTube, put an ad in here if you haven't already fucking kicked the ads off. We'll put an ad in. Come back, we'll talk Jimmy Smith and Corey Graves and the stupidity that they just don't understand why people are upset with them. So if you don't want to watch the coffee making process, go to commercial, come back. Yes, look at that. It's like a magic potion, bro. Love that shit. And couple of sugar packets, and we'll be on our way. It's a process, man. It's a process. Where are you going? You know, everyone's so busy. Trust me, BC's always busy too. I set aside at least a half an hour to shoot the shit with you guys. So, let's spend the whole fucking half an hour shooting the shit. Mix this up a little bit. Alright, the winner of this match. Fucking remember back in the day when there was like somebody beat the shit out of somebody after the match? And the referee would keep telling the timekeeper to ring the bell as if that's going to make the person stop. Every 3 seconds. Ring the bell. That's all you'd hear. Like the bad guy is all of a sudden supposed to go, oh shit, I didn't hear the bell. Sorry, everybody. Anyway, here's some Canadian. Tim Hortons, man. Tim Horton pod. Let's do this live. We'll see, man. I got a whole hell of a lot of fucking pods I can speak. A lot of Tim Hortons, so I better like it. Oh, man, that sits on the tongue. That's kind of dangerous because I could probably have 20 of these in a day. All right, Canada, you passed the test. Tim Hortons is where it's at. That doesn't mean I'm giving up on, That doesn't mean that I'm giving up on, my Folgers. Right here, my Folgers, man. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. Folgers, it's in your motherfucking cup. All right, BC, get the business, man. 10 minutes fucking making coffee. All right, so here's the deal, guys. I'm not going to rehash what happened to Sasha Naomi. You guys by now know my feelings on it. Bottom line, you know, I've made 2 separate cold opens, well over a half an hour on both. My last 2 videos, check them out. Nearly 25,000 of you guys already caught the first video on the subject, and we're going toward 15,000 the last time I talked about it. So, combined, that's 40,000 views just on my take on Sasha Naomi. I'm not going to run that into the ground anymore. This discussion is going to be revolved around the people in that locker room, the people within WWE, the people that are spewing the narrative that Vince McMahon wants them to spew. And particularly, and more specifically, I'm talking about Corey Graves and Jimmy Smith, the Raw Broadcast Team. Now, Corey Graves, as you guys know, man, he was the mouthpiece of Vince McMahon after Sasha Naomi had walked out. Corey Graves says, and I quote, they were unprofessional upon their approach to walking out. And let me get the exact quote, man, just so there's no, hold on, where is it? I don't want any doubt in that BC is just making this shit up. This is what Corey Graves said, right? Like maybe, what was that, a half an hour after this happened? And I quote, summarily and unprofessionally walked out of WWE. That's what Corey Graves said, and he threw some daggers down. Now, obviously, that's coming from Vince McMahon, but Corey Graves is the mouthpiece. He's the middleman in all this, doing his job, right? So, a lot of people got on Graves' ass for that, man. Dude, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, you don't know the sitch yet. Why would you just spew anything that Vince tells you to do? And this led to Carmella defending Corey Graves. Carmella says, because somebody actually put, get your man, Carmella. Like, reel him back in. Talking all this shit about Sasha Naomi. Whether it's from Vince or not. You're live on air, dude. So, Carmella, under the name on social, the most beautiful woman in all of WWE, she says, imagine still living in a world where you think he just says whatever he wants. He does his job, period. And she's right. She's just doing what Vince tells him to do. But Carmella opened the floodgates. When she defended Corey, that sent everybody into an uproar. Well, is he doing his job, or should he be standing up for them? What line needs to be drawn to tell your boss, dude, I'm uncomfortable with this? There's so many factors that came into why this created an uproar. So, Corey Graves then spoke about it. Corey Graves says, and I quote, if I'm being perfectly honest and transparent with everybody, I would love to dive into this conversation because it set the internet on fire. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody has a point of view. I don't know enough facts about what actually went down to speak on it with any confidence. All I know is what you guys know. And I was getting updates throughout the show on Monday as needed because we were doing a show. So if there comes a point in time where it becomes something we know facts about, I will happily dive into that for our listeners' pleasure. Until then, we're just going to stick with what we know, which is just that they walked out. So Corey Graves admits he doesn't know the facts behind the walkout. And again, BC calls it a force out because this was not just something that happened on Monday morning where Sasha called Naomi or vice versa, or they got together and they said, hey, let's walk out. No, this has been happening over many days, weeks, months, and years. 10 years if you're Naomi, over 6 if you're Sasha Banks. This has been mistreated, neglected, reckless booking, ruining what should be epic careers because of the talent in Sasha Banks and Naomi. No, Vince McMahon making them mid-tier level wrestlers, superstars, so that the Charlie Flairs and others can get the spotlight that they should have gotten for years. Because again, the talent, the superstar charisma and aura from them exudes that. You would think that Feel the Glow is so damn marketable that Naomi should have been a star for years. I don't want to hear she doesn't talk that well on the mic. What the fuck is Charlie Flair's best mic work that you've seen? It's all the same. It's all redundancy when Charlie Flair gets on the mic. That's why to this day there's no connection. But yet Naomi gets nothing? Charlie Flair gets 14 titles, Naomi gets 2, and Naomi's been there for years longer. Naomi's a better wrestler than Charlie Flair. That's right. I said it not because it's opinion. I've studied their work. Nobody can tell me Charlie is better than Naomi. Naomi is just as, if not more, I dare I say more athletic than Charlie. So you want to go to the wrestling. Well, Naomi, time and time again, is the highlight reel of her matches. Naomi has better matches than anybody she's in there with usually, right? I mean, we're always talking about Naomi being the highlight, whether it's a Royal Rumble or a singles match, a tag team match, a schmaz. Naomi's going to be the highlight reel. Charlie Flair, what's the highlight? Is she going to do the same moonsault where she always misses it, but maybe will graze you with her hand? Is she going to do a natural selection, maybe a figure 8? Is she going to do a cartwheel on her entrance like she used to do in NXT? What's captivating you in a Charlie Flair match? Defense? There is none. Selling? Only if she wants to. She's one of the worst sellers because she hates to do it. I used to say the same thing about Nia Jax. So when you check off or uncheck the boxes or leave the boxes unchecked, Naomi is going to have more boxes checked off. Naomi would be the better wrestler, right? I'm sick of this notion that Charlie's the better wrestler because she has the spotlight. Character-wise, as I said, Feel the Glow would sell merchandise-wise way more if Vince put one iota of the machine behind her. Feel the Glow? Are you kidding me? You know how many people wanted those Glow titles when she went to that live event with a championship that was glowing? But instead she got reprimanded, and Vince never wanted to put the machine behind the belts. But if it was a John Cena spinner belt, or a Rattlesnake Stone Cold belt, or the Brahma Bull Rock belt, whichever belt, Vince is right there to put the machine behind it. He'll put a little Queen's crown on top of the Women's Championship for Charlie Flair and try to have that thing sell. But Naomi in a Glow title? No. Because Vince doesn't want her as a superstar on that level. He doesn't want to put the machine behind Naomi. And Sasha Banks, I've said it twice already since this story broke out. I say it all the time. I'll say it a millionth time and a million more times. Everybody's best match is with Sasha Banks. Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, Asuka, Io Shirai, Bayley 18 times, Charlie Flair 16 times. Sasha Banks gives everybody their best match. That's not opinion, that's a fact. So who's the common denominator? It's Sasha Banks. And by the way, Charlie's best match this year was with Naomi. Twice. And they felt the need that they had to leave when this is their life. They would love nothing more than to not have to feel like they need to walk out. But this was Vince McMahon doing this for years to them. We've seen this. I've had this channel for 5 years, and I've been calling this shit out for 5 years. So if I've seen it, how the fuck has Corey Graves and Jimmy Smith not seen it? Right? So Corey Graves admits he doesn't know the facts. He's going by what he's being told in his earpiece. He's doing his job. Well, if you're doing that type of job, you take it seriously. Wouldn't you tell your boss, dude, I kind of want to wait until we get more facts. I don't feel comfortable saying this. Maybe. Or, like a lot of you feel, he's just doing his job. If Vince says jump, Corey says how high. Right? Whatever is fed to them in their earpiece, they have to do it or they lose their job. BC, do you really expect them to lose their job? What I expect them to do, guys, is stick together. Their talent. Corey might be coming back to the ring this year. That's their latest reports. He's ready for an in-ring return. Don't you want to know that your brothers and your sisters have your back? Right? Don't you want to know that you're not just a puppet? At some point, you will have to tell your boss, you'll have to call your boss into an office and say you don't feel right. If you're live on the spot, you have a button to press to speak to Vince. You tell him during the commercial, I don't feel right on that. I don't want to open up that box, that Pandora's box. Please, can we talk afterwards? If you lose your job for standing up for yourself or what you believe in, then dude, you should have never been in that job to begin with. If you stand up for nothing, you'll fall for everything. There's a time-honored tradition in the industry. You stand up for one another. So in that aspect, that's why Carmella's words and then Corey Graves trying to double down on it, but putting his own foot in his mouth, saying, I didn't know the facts, but I still opened my mouth because I had to. Vince told me to. That's why all of this is a hot issue today and has been for the last 72 hours. It's opening up a discussion. When is there a line of doing your job and saying whatever Vince tells you to say, and when is it time to say, fuck that, dude, I'm not saying that? Michael Cole went live on Friday night and actually went as far as to degrade, embarrass, and absolutely try to derail the images of Naomi and Sasha Banks. He tried to embarrass them by saying that they unprofessionally walked out, doubling down, saying that they disappointed millions of fans and apologizing on their behalf. They handed the titles over because they went into business for themselves. They were done filthy by Vince McMahon. Yet Michael Cole is out there vilifying them. Never before, when somebody has walked out of a company, WWE more specifically, never have we seen Vince McMahon try to vilify them to this fucking point. 2 women is where Vince McMahon wants to hang his hat. That's the hill he wants to die on. 2 women? Naomi and Sasha Banks is who he wants to vilify because he probably sees them as easy targets. So Corey Graves has to talk a bunch of shit. Michael Cole has to embarrass and vilify them. This is straight up cowardly. This is absolute bullying because he knows they can't fire back and speak back because they're already in contract disputes. Vince McMahon has them hanging by a thread. Vince McMahon can freeze their contracts, not just sit them at home until their contracts are over. He can freeze them, meaning you'll never see Sasha Banks and Naomi wrestle ever again, unless a lot of legalities is put into play. A lot of lawyering up. I can fucking speak. So that's the deal, right? They're vilifying them and they can't even speak back. Every single time they've been on the air since the walkout, they're being thrown under the bus. And they can't even tell their side of the story. That's why people are having a discussion. It's one thing to just do whatever you're fed, right? Recite whatever Vince says. That's their job. BC, they're not going to lose their job over Sasha and Naomi. But the flip side is Corey himself said he didn't know the facts, and he's that willing to just go along with Vince, throw his own brothers and sisters under the bus because that's what you're doing, right? That's what got CM Punk and so many others talking in the community about sticking with your brothers and sisters. Stick together, because at the end of the day, that's all you got. Vince McMahon don't give a shit about you. He doesn't. We've seen the last 2 years during a pandemic that how quickly, in a snap of a finger, he's willing to get rid of people, have them out without a job. And on the same day he releases them all, they record record revenue. They tell all their shareholders, we're making the most money ever, but we're going to make some budget cuts. We're going to put people in the unemployment line, even during a pandemic. And you think he gives a fuck about these motherfuckers? When Corey Graves has said every son of a bitchin' thing that Vince has told him to say, and Corey Graves one day gets released, gets the pink slip, gets Das Boot right out of those walls. I would love to hear Corey Graves' side of it then. Damn, I did everything Vince told me to do. I threw everybody under the bus he told me to. I did my job. I kissed his ass. I sucked that company's cock, and when it was all said and done, I was just another spoke on the wheel. And that wheel keeps spinning, my friend. And that wheel produces more money for Vince McMahon and makes these boys and gals in that company look like idiots. And everybody plays a role in turning on one another, because Vince will make that happen, because he will put your job on the line. At what point do you say at your job, boss man, I need to speak to you? And at what point do you say, if it doesn't go according to plan, I don't feel right doing this shit? But Corey Graves never had the best relationship with Sasha Banks anyway, so he said what he said. And then Jimmy Smith taps into it, right? Jimmy Smith, we try to get Jimmy Smith's take on this. Jimmy Smith, obviously the partner in crime with Corey Graves. Hopefully I can get this up, guys. Hold on. Jimmy Smith said this. This was on his own podcast. Didn't even know he had one. Don't really care. Jimmy Smith, maybe it's no fault of his own, I don't know, but when Raw starts every Monday, gone are the days of the explosions, not just pyro. It was beautiful. It was a symphony of fireworks, pyro, the banging Raw's war theme. Everybody's got a sign. Everybody's wild. That's how we started Raw. The glass would shatter right after Here Comes Stone Cold. Nowadays, welcome everybody to Monday Night Raw. Tonight we have a 6-man tag. Gear up. It's going to be a wild ride. Jimmy Smith is just talking normal. No pyro. Fans don't even know if we're on the air yet. They're still texting, asking their friends when they're going to be on TV. Hey, Timmy, let me know when I'm on TV, man. I'll wave to you. Right? Timmy's already fucking asleep, so he can't even text back Jerry. Jerry, I know I'm 20 minutes late. Sorry, man. You're on the air. Jimmy Smith is just normal tone. Nothing. Back in the day, Jim Raw. Welcome, everyone, to Monday Night Raw. Hellfire and brimstone tonight. Nothing will ever be the same again. Who knows, man? It was wild. From the start to the fucking end, Monday Night Raw was a fucking war zone. And you couldn't miss a second, especially when it was going against Nitro. Now with Jimmy Smith, welcome everybody to Monday Night Raw. That's how we start. If you're snoozing by 2 minutes into the show. Anyway, Jimmy Smith has a podcast. That probably puts people to sleep just as fucking fast. But Jimmy Smith says the following. Tim fucking Hortons, okay. I got you, Canada, and your Tim Hortons coffee. Jimmy Smith says, and I quote, the superstars themselves are able to get their own story out and get their own narrative out in public in ways they couldn't 20, 10, or 15 years ago. So what it feels like the WWE is doing, and I don't know, they haven't discussed it with me, is they're getting ahead of the ability of Sasha and Naomi to put on their own narrative. So he's throwing WWE under the bus at least. He's admitting that. He's saying that he knows Sasha and Naomi right now don't have a voice. So Vince McMahon is getting ahead of it, and he's going to totally trash them, vilify them, embarrass them, derail them, make nobody in the community want to do anything with them before they can even speak up for themselves. I'll repeat what Jimmy Smith said. This is, and I quote, "It feels like the WWE is doing, and I don't know, they haven't discussed it personally with me, is they're getting ahead of the ability of Sasha and Naomi to put out their own narrative. If you don't say why, they will say why." He literally says if they're not going to speak up for themselves, which again, they can't right now, contractually they're already fucked, they ain't going to ruin it anymore, then Vince is going to trash them and put out his narrative. The WWE wants their perspective out there. That's a quote from Jimmy Smith. The WWE wants their perspective out there. Fuck yours. They're going to go out and say something. So WWE wanted to get ahead of it and did it first. That's what it seems like to me. No, it doesn't seem that way. That's exactly what happened, Jimmy Smith. You know that. Don't backtrack now, buddy. Now, this is where Jimmy Smith just is not opening up his eyes to why people are pissed off. Just like Corey Graves, they're delusional, and they're just not thinking correctly. Jimmy Smith says, and I quote, "What I don't get at all is the heat that my broadcast partner Corey Graves is getting. They gave him something to read, and much like Michael Cole, he toned it down even a little bit. But guys, Michael Cole and Corey Graves aren't making this stuff up. People are getting mad at them like they're freestyling this stuff. They're not. If Vince said, 'Here, read this,' I would have done exactly what Michael Cole did. Corey Graves is getting all this shit. Corey Graves didn't make up that statement. He's a broadcaster and was told to read it, and he read it. So I understand the ire of the fans, but the misdirection of that ire is weird." Well, trust me, Jimmy Smith, if you open up your ears to legit podcasters in the community like BC Amplify, pat on the back, you would know that since day one, we only blame Vince McMahon on this channel. We don't even blame Bruce Pritchard, Johnny Laurinaitis. You don't hear those names come out of BC's mouth often. It's Vince McMahon. So trust me, that's always going to be the ire of the fans and where it's toward when you're part of the amplified unit. But when you're an accomplice to that, right? Because that's what you are. Your job, you just admitted. Your job, half of it is just reiterating, releasing lines that Vince McMahon told you to say. Just recite it, right? So at what point do you stop being Ron Burgundy, right? And anybody that's seen the movie Anchorman, you know what I'm talking about. Ron Burgundy, the character, Will Ferrell, he'll read anything you put up on the teleprompter. You put it down, he'll read it, right? So when he's being sabotaged in the movie, they say, "Good night, everybody, and go fuck yourself, San Diego." Boom! He actually reads that to all of his viewers in San Diego. Go fuck yourself. But at what point do you stop Ron Burgundy out, right? Don't be a Ron Burgundy. You got to stand up and say, "Wait, I'm not reciting that shit. I don't know the facts, and I'm not throwing some of the talent under the bus, Vince. Can you meet me halfway?" And Vince, if you're going to fire me over not wanting to say that, then Vince, I would question if you ever valued my work anyway, or me, right? At your job, when you finally stand up for somebody or something, at what point do you say, if you're not going to meet me halfway on this or see where I'm coming from, then maybe this is not working? Because that means you'll treat me the same way you're treating them. If there's a falling out with Jimmy Smith and Corey Graves in WWE, this is what he'll have his new set of commentators talking about, right? He will throw Corey Graves and Jimmy Smith under the bus. He'll have the bus back up, go forward again, put in drive, back it up in reverse. He'll roll over Jimmy Smith and Corey Graves 76 times. He'll embarrass them. He'll vilify them. He'll make sure nobody in the industry wants to work with them. At some point, you have to stand up for your fellow brothers and sisters. A long time ago, I worked at a pet shop, a pet store, okay? And this is hourly wage, right? I'm living paycheck to paycheck, obviously. I came straight out of the projects. I'm working a pet store. Of course, it's paycheck to paycheck. But several times I called in the management into an office, shut the door, on behalf of other people that I felt were being treated unfairly. When it came time for a raise, even if it's 13 cents, give it to them. They're busting their ass. Or if I felt something was wrong, or somebody was being shortchanged on a break, I stood up for them, right? I put my own job on the line. I would have been right back out looking for another fucking job, paycheck to paycheck. I would have been fucked. But at what point do you just stand up, man? Life is short. You gotta stand up for people, brothers and your sisters in your own field. Doesn't have to be just blood. Your La Familia can be many different types of people. But if you're in the same boat, make sure that boat stays afloat and doesn't sink. Well, it sinks if one person starts to go awry. If one person decides to not do their part, that is a ripple effect and that boat will sink. Everybody needs to stand together. I don't care if you're working at the local McDonald's, the local Target, if you're working at UPS, Amazon, or if you're in Wall Street. Or professional wrestling. You got to stand up for one another at some point, right? So, Corey Graves, Jimmy Smith, they don't understand why people are upset with them. Everybody should think the same way. They're just doing their job. They're not going to lose it for Sasha and Naomi. So where does it end? Who do they lose it for? Roman Reigns? Or if something happened with Roman and Vince wanted to do the same thing to Roman, do they just say that? Do they say it for every motherfucker? They're the mouthpiece to do the dirty deeds of Vince McMahon. Or do people have their own way of thinking and say, dude, if you admit you don't know all the facts, you admit you don't feel comfortable in saying it, then maybe don't say it. Because these are lives on the line, not just careers. Because they work hand in hand. You're tarnishing legacies. You're throwing individuals, your own sisters, under the bus because Vince told me to. I'm just doing my job. I get it. That's why there's a rift in the community, right? Most people, they're kind of at odds with this. Everybody's kind of combating. They're just doing their job. They have no fault in this. But the problem is we see this time and time again. At some point, you're going to be called out on that shit. This is that point. This was the breaking point. For too long, Corey Graves and Jimmy Smith have just been the mouthpiece. We get no ire of the fans. Nobody should be upset with us. We're just saying. How many times can you play that card? How many times can you do the damage, light the fucking match, light that bitch up ablaze, watch the fire burn, turn around and go, I didn't do it. I lit the match, but I didn't pour down the gasoline. Bitch, I don't care. You're still an accomplice to it. At some point, you gots to be called out for it. So no, BC's not going to sit here and give Jimmy Smith and Corey Graves the pass. Not going to happen. You are participating in tarnishing, embarrassing, and vilifying two females that are top-notch athletes and professional wrestlers. Sasha Banks Naomi, two of the best. Sasha Banks, the best. Most athletic, easily, Naomi. Neither of them got an iota of what they're deserved in that fucking company. Not even close to what they truly deserve. Sasha Banks, if you're going on 14 times for Charlie Flair champion, Sasha Banks should be a 47-time champion. Or I take that back, one time, and she's never lost it for the last 6 years. Because that's how good she is. But no, we'll keep them mid-card. We'll tell them we're going to make a tag team division. We'll tell them the titles are going to mean something finally. They're going to mean something. We're going to build a division. And then you find out a second time Sasha Banks has gotten lied to. She's been had twice. She was told this with Bayley, and she saw all of those lies and everything crumbled down. There was no division. They didn't make the titles prestigious, and they made them look like chumps. So Sasha was told this again. Okay, now you and Naomi, now we're really going to do it. We're going to build a division. The titles are going to mean something. You're going to be prestigious. Finally, what happens? Lied to. No tag division was built. The tag division is non-existent. The titles are irrelevant, and Sasha and Naomi were about to go to Hell in a Cell, last word that we got, to have individual title matches, and they were both supposed to lose. Then they were going to go back to the tag division, but oops, that's non-existent. So they would be even more irrelevant than before. The only difference is, oh yeah, they already had another title defense or chance to get the title, and they lost. So go cower away into the tag division that's non-existent. That's what was going to happen for Sasha and Naomi. And people say they walked out, they didn't want to do their job, right? They're sucking the company cock, and they're taking Vince McMahon's message that was sent out. They're performers that didn't want to perform. They went into business for themselves and went unprofessional. It's a scripted television show, and they didn't want to perform, right? Let's vilify and embarrass them as if they just woke up and said, I don't feel like working today. They were forced out by the old bastard in Stamford over years. This has been building up, a snowball effect, and that ball kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And before you know it, when a snowball gets so damn big, it becomes a boulder, and a boulder moving at that speed is going to run motherfuckers over. A boulder doesn't become such in a snap of a finger. A boulder is produced to such levels. Vince McMahon created that boulder and then turned around and tried to place the blame on the boulder for creating itself. That thing was spinning in motion. Vince McMahon created that Arctic storm that created the boulder. But we're supposed to just say they didn't do their job. Let's vilify them. I didn't even see Mustafa Ali get this type of treatment when he wanted his release and went home. I didn't see Stone Cold get this type of fucking hatred. I didn't see FTR or Brody Lee or Rusev Miro get this type of heat when they went on their own socials and placed their displeasure. Just put it that way. Nothing. Everybody actually agreed. Because we know the workplace within WWE is so fucking chaotically stupid, pathetic. That's what's embarrassing. The old bastard doesn't even know what he's producing. Every week on Monday Night Raw, you never know what you're going to get, and not in a good way. You'll get the same fucking match you just saw 74 weeks in a row. You'll see people coming out, faces and heels every other week, like the Street Profits. You don't know what the fuck they are. Nothing ever makes sense on a Monday night, especially. Vince doesn't give a fuck. And then you wonder why talent. You think Sasha and Naomi the only ones that fucking were forced out? That felt like that was the only way they could do this? To get through to Vince that something needs to change, or they have to get out. Have to, not want to. Because things can't keep going that way. If you're at your job, isn't there a point where you would stand up for yourself? Or do you just keep eating shit sandwiches until you're fucking dead? And on your tombstone it'll say, lived a mediocre life, but did everything his boss ever asked him to do. Oh, what a loyal son of a bitch. That's not how BC was raised. It may have been in a set of projects, but I still had values, morals, some fucking respect. I made 1,000,001 bad decisions. I continue to make 1,000,001 more. At least I still have fucking respect and dignity for myself and for brothers and sisters that I am around. Whatever the case may be, know who you need to be there for. And if you are wondering what those scenarios are, ask yourself, who and when would you want people there for you? Those are the people you might want to be there for them. You may not like Sasha, Naomi, Corey Graves, but they're still one of you. You're not better than them. So to sit there and just hide behind, I'm just doing what I was told in my earpiece. Bro, you lit the match. Vince poured down the gasoline, you lit the match. We let you get away with this for years. Here on this channel, it's Vince, guys. It's not Corey. It's Vince. It's not Corey. It's got to come to an end at some point. You have to stand up for your brothers and sisters, Corey. Guys, this isn't about, oh, they're not going to lose their job. They're going to do what their boss says. Corey admitted he didn't know the facts and threw these two ladies under the bus and embarrassed them and vilified them. Called them unprofessional. This is more than just losing your job. It's standing up for yourself. Corey Graves will find himself one day losing his job in that company. Trust me. He's going to turn around and he's going to hope that somebody stood up for him. You reap what you sow. You made your bed. At one point, you're going to have to lie in it. Karma. She comes around every now and again, and she can be a bitch. Karma will bite you in the ass. Karma will get you. Do the right things. Learn from mistakes. I made more mistakes than anybody in the history of history. I've made them all. I'll make them more. Learn from them. Corey knows better. My point is this, whether they want to say everything that Vince, right? Let me wrap this up with a bow, right? Because it's a debate. It's a debate. A lot of you guys think they're just doing their job. They have to keep doing it or they're going to find themselves out without a work. Sorry. That's just the way it is. If it's me, BC, whatever Vince wants me to say, I'm saying it. If he says that me and Michael Cole have cuddly time after the show in our hotel room, then that's what I'm going to say. That's you. There's a lot of people like BC that say there's a line and you do not do filthy like they just did to Sasha and Naomi. Corey Graves, Jimmy Smith, and Michael Cole all are to blame. Right? So that's the debate. So let me put a little bow on all of this, if I may. Let me have some Tim Hortons coffee. Putting a bow on this, it's not even just the point that they just recited what Vince said and that's just what they do and they're going to continue to do it because that's their job. That's the simplistic approach to look at this, right? And that's where the debate starts. But you have to broaden out your horizons. Think about it deeper. It's not just the fact that they're reciting it. Where does that end? Where's the line to what you will not say? Where's the line where you might want to protect your fellow boys and gals in that locker room? The point that's broader that I want you to think about is that Corey and Jimmy truly don't understand why people are upset with them. You chose to say everything Vince tells you to say without standing up for yourselves. When you took the job and you chose to say everything your boss says, even if it means throwing your own brothers and sisters under the bus, you at that point chose to take the criticism that goes with it. If you're going to bask in your glory, you better be able to burn in your flames. Because you did light the match. The fact that Jimmy Smith and Corey Graves truly don't know why fans are upset with them, that is what is pathetically obnoxious. It's delusion. They're upset at you because you're carrying out the old bastard's message from Stamford, Connecticut. Or right there in gorilla position while he feeds you this bullshit. Because it's bullshit. They were unprofessional. Corey Graves, you damn well, whether you like Sasha or not, you damn well have seen the trajectory of her career. You damn well know how good she is. And I don't give a fuck who you're married to. You damn well know that Sasha Banks hasn't even began to be given a fraction, just a fraction of what she's owed and deserved in that company. That's right, I hate the word deserves in pro wrestling. These days, fans think that all their favorites deserve everything, but Sasha deserves a hell of a lot more, and she hasn't even received a fraction. And you know that, Corey. You know the real reason they're walking out or forced out or have to leave. You know why they're unhappy. It ain't fucking ego. You know Vince McMahon has fucked them over. And yet you still recite all of his messages, call them unprofessional, say they let millions of fans down. On air, live! Michael Cole, Corey Graves, Jimmy Smith backing them up. And you take none of the heat? Doesn't sound right, man. You were right there when that fire went up. I think you got to take some of that same heat. If you don't want to take the heat, don't be there when the fire goes up ablaze. I'm BC Amplified. This has been your impromptu bonus vid here on this Thursday. If you're up here in the States, man, midnight tonight, don't forget, we have a little bit of a Stranger Things occurrence. And I'm not talking Dexter Loomis or Undertaker or Bray Wyatt the Fiend. This is the television show or the Netflix show Stranger Things. If you've never seen it before, check it out. I wouldn't start with season 4. Start with season 1. Give it a real try. I had to watch it twice over. The first time I watched 20 minutes, I shut it off. I didn't watch it for another 6 months. I just felt it wasn't for me. I'm so glad I went back and checked it out again because I fell in love with the show. So give it the whole first half an hour. Even if it seems slow, you're not getting it. Give it a chance. You're going to fucking love it. Work your way up to season 4, which comes out tonight. Or at least the first part of season 4. I think it's in 2 separate parts. So, salute to everybody, man. Everybody put your thinking caps on in honor of Dustin and the boys and gals tonight, man, for Stranger Things. If you don't watch the show and you don't intend to, and you're just like, BC, I don't give a fuck about Stranger Things, then salute. Fuck it. Hopefully you at least understand the Sasha Banks Naomi talk and why people are pissed off every time somebody attempts to throw them under the bus, whether it was their words, somebody else's words. That's why there's a discussion. I hope this whole video, I hope Jimmy Smith and Corey Graves now understand why at least people are pissed off at them. Whether they're doing their job or not, that's not even the point. I hope you're not so clueless anymore. BC, I hope, just educated Corey Graves and Jimmy Smith. I hope. That's what we're doing. Salute my unit. Sasha, you know what we got to do, man. We got to end this the right way. Hit my motherfucking music. Check that shirt out, bro. Come on, bro. Look at that shit. I can't play the Stranger Things music. They'll copyright the shit out of it. Yeah! Louder! Check you guys, man. Much love. BC, and I'm out.